You can always tell when someone has entered their final awakening. Not by what they say, not by how they dress or move, but by how they see. And even more than that, how their eyes see you. There's something different. Not in brightness or color, but in presence. Their gaze no longer scans or measures. It lands like something eternal finally settling into form. You feel it before you understand it. Their eyes don't demand attention. They simply hold it, like a still flame that doesn't flicker. No matter how wild the wind dot, it's not the kind of thing you'd see in a movie. There's no dramatic glowing aura, no supernatural flash, no cinematic cue. Just something shifts. And if you're sensitive enough, you know, the shift is sacred, soft, but unmistakable. And sometimes, the strangest thing happens. People around them start to behave differently. Not because they know what's changed, but because they feel it. Without understanding, they start responding. Sometimes with awe, sometimes with confusion, and other times with discomfort they can't explain. It's like their presence rearranges the emotional air. Like the eyes themselves are speaking in a silent language that bypasses logic and whispers straight into the soul. So if lately your eyes have felt strange, if you've noticed yourself blinking less, staring longer, seeing deeper, or if people are reacting to you in odd, unpredictable ways, even if you don't say a word, then stay with this, because what you're about to hear might not just explain what's happening. It might confirm something you've silently known your whole life. Not everyone sees it, but if you do, if your inner world has already started to reshape your outer sight, then you may be one of the very few, the ones whose eyes are no longer just organs of sight, but vessels of truth. This is not imagination. This is remembrance. You are not going crazy. You are going home. And the eyes are leading the way. 1. The energetic leak through the eyes. There comes a moment on the path when your soul has expanded so far, so wide that your physical body can no longer contain all of it. And when that moment arrives, the first place the energy leaks, subtly but powerfully, is through your eyes. Not in a way that science can measure, not in a way that mirrors or microscopes can detect, but in a way that is unmistakable to those who can feel energy. The gaze begins to shift. It no longer looks at things, it pierces through them, like a beam of awareness cutting through illusion, shining quietly but unwaveringly into the truth behind form. And for those on the receiving end, this change is undeniable. Some people, without understanding why, will find themselves unable to hold your gaze. Others, equally confused, will be magnetically drawn to it, as if being seen awakens something forgotten within them. The eyes become a spiritual aperture, no longer just physical tools, but doorways through which presence flows. And through these doorways, others feel you. They don't understand how they feel it, but they do. You may not even notice it at first, but you'll start to observe reactions. A stranger pauses longer than usual when passing you. A friend stares at you like they've just remembered something. A child smiles for no reason at all, simply because your gaze felt like home. And when you look in the mirror, there's something new, not dramatic, not cinematic, just a quiet gravity behind your own eyes. Like something ancient has arrived and is watching the world through you. That's the energetic leak. It's not a flaw. It's not a glitch. It's your truth outgrowing the limits of your form and pouring out through the only place it still fits, the eyes. So let me ask you this. Have you noticed people holding your gaze longer than usual? Or avoiding it altogether? Have you felt their discomfort or their curiosity, even when nothing was said? If so, you're not imagining it. You're not making it up. You're beginning to see and be seen through the awakened gaze. 2. Subtle perception distortion. There are quiet moments when everything is still. No noise, no movement. Just silence, like the whole world has paused to breathe. And in that stillness, something begins to shimmer. Not dramatic, not alarming, just the faintest flicker, like the outer rim of a table bends slightly, or the edge of a wall hums like a mirage in the heat. You blink, thinking it might be your eyes adjusting, but it keeps happening. Only when you are truly calm, deeply present. This isn't fatigue. This isn't a trick of light or some flaw in your vision. It's a sacred signal. Your spiritual lens is beginning to activate. When the mind grows quiet, the soul begins to see. And through the eyes of the soul, the world does not hold still, it breathes. Every object is no longer just a thing. It's energy, dancing. The desk, the doorway, even the floor beneath your feet begins to shimmer with something just beneath the surface. You're not hallucinating. You're not going crazy. You're witnessing the veil thinning between what is real and what is more real. You see the flicker because you're no longer anchored fully in the consensus reality. Your awareness is peeling back from the shared dream. Consensus reality, the world we're all trained to agree on, is only one layer. And for those who are awakening, that layer begins to crack. Gently dot the flickering edges are not imperfections. They are invitations, portals, reminders that there is more than the eye was ever taught to see. This distortion is not failure. It's alignment. It's your soul adjusting the lens. No longer bound to the flat image, but beginning to sense this living pulse behind everything. Have you ever stared at a wall, a lamp, a tree, and suddenly it began to shimmer like it had a secret? Like it knew you were watching? That's not your imagination. That's perception evolving. That's your inner sight catching up with your outer one. That's the moment when truth begins to leak through the cracks of illusion. 3. The intuitive rejection of dishonesty. There comes a moment on the path of awakening when your eyes stop simply seeing and begin knowing. You walk into a room. Someone smiles. Their words are kind, but your gaze narrows. Not because of suspicion, but because your spirit whispers, "This is not clean." It's no longer about judging right or wrong. It's not about morality. It's energetic. It's vibrational. It's the sharp pain of truth trying to push through layers of performance. Your eyes begin to tighten. Not from anger, but from resistance. From the effort of filtering illusion. Sometimes you feel it as a discomfort behind your temples, or a strange nausea right behind the eyes dot. It's not emotional. It's not personal. It's spiritual data being misaligned. And your inner system rejecting what isn't congruent. Your gaze becomes your first filter, your first boundary. With those who are truthful, your eyes soften like warm sunlight, welcoming. But with falsehood, they harden almost involuntarily. You're not doing it to be rude. It's not something you control. It's simply the wisdom of your field rejecting distortion. Sometimes, you physically can't maintain eye contact with someone hiding their truth. Your eyes simply refuse. They pull away. They protect dot in those moments. Your soul says more than words ever could. I see you, but I don't agree with this mask you wear. This isn't judgment. This is clarity. This is your vision evolving from politeness to discernment. Have you noticed that your gaze unsettles people who are not being honest? That their eyes dart or their smile fades slightly? That's not intimidation. That's truth lighting up a shadow. That's your soul quietly saying, I don't resonate with this frequency. Your gaze is no longer a passive thing. It's become active, alive, your first and silent line of spiritual defense. 4. Peripheral vision as an emotional radar. Something subtle begins to shift. Not in the way you look directly at the world, but in how the edges of your vision begin to whisper dot. It's not always seen. it's more often felt. A flicker, a pulse, a disturbance in the stillness just outside your central focus. Peripheral vision becomes more than a passive tool. It evolves into a kind of emotional radar. Always gently scanning the energetic horizon dot, you begin to notice shadows that aren't cast by light but by emotion. Flickers that don't belong to form, but to presence. And sometimes, you just know someone is near, even when they haven't made a sound. Your body stills, your spirit listens. Maybe it's in nature. When you're alone, but suddenly feel that you're not. And then, after a few moments, someone walks around the bend, or maybe you're deep in thought, reflecting on someone, and a slight movement appears in the corner of your vision, as if their energy is present. These aren't hallucinations. These aren't imagination. They're the quiet signs of a nervous system that's no longer bound by only the physical dot. Your awareness is extending its reach, past what is seen and into what is felt. When your soul awakens, it doesn't just look forward. It surrounds you. It protects you. It watches even when you don't. Have you felt it? That moment when your body flinched before your mind understood why. That tiny air jolt when a vibration crossed your field. It's not fear. It's not anxiety. It's knowing. Your field registering emotional frequencies before they form into thought. This too is part of the awakening. You are becoming attuned to the invisible world, where emotion leaves footprints and energy speaks louder than sound. Your peripheral vision is no longer just vision. It's spiritual awareness expanded into space, alive at the edges of every moment. 5. The slowing of the blink reflex. There comes a moment in your awakening when even your eyes begin to surrender to stillness, not out of force, not from holding them open intentionally, but because your inner world has grown so quiet, so deeply, anchored in presence, that blinking no longer feels necessary. The blink reflex, a biological rhythm tied to fear, tension, distraction, begins to fall away. What once acted as a shield between you and the world now simply dissolves. Because you're not trying to protect yourself anymore. You're simply here, fully dot when you speak truth. Your eyes no longer dance to social timing. They don't shift or flutter. They rest dot, and when you sit in silence, they remain still, wide open, not with strain, but with deep knowing. This isn't a blank stare. It's a spiritual gaze. Anchored, aware, alert, yet deeply relaxed. You stop blinking to hide discomfort. You stop blinking to deflect emotion. You stop blinking because your soul is no longer hiding. Even in bright light, your gaze softens instead of flinching. The pupil doesn't shrink in fear. It expands in calm. That this change can be subtle. People may not always notice what's different, but they feel it. They say things like, "There's something in your eyes," but they can't quite name it. And they're right. What they're seeing isn't in your eyes. It's through them, because in that stillness, your soul looks out. Clear, grounded, and deeply honest dot, no longer blinking away discomfort. No longer shielding yourself with motion. Just holding the world in a steady gaze of presence dot. Can you feel it? That slowing down? That widening quietness that begins not with thought, but with presence? Your soul is no longer hiding behind reflex. It is showing itself. Completely unfiltered. 6. Pattern recognition and energetic magnetism in nature. There's a quiet shift that happens in the eyes of the awakened when the soul begins to remember its origin, not through thought, but through sight. You find yourself drawn, not distracted, but magnetized to the shapes in nature that once held you before you became human. A leaf blowing gently in the wind becomes more than just a leaf. It becomes a message, a memory, a frequency your soul recognizes. The ripples in water hold more than beauty. They mirror the currents of vibration flowing through your energy field. A stone, silent and still, suddenly feels like a companion. An anchor to a truth deeper than time. Your eyes no longer wander for entertainment. They settle. They root into whatever echoes the memory of oneness. You stare, not because it's beautiful in the traditional sense, but because something inside you says, I know this. Branches become veins. Clouds become breath. Water becomes light flowing backward into the source. You're not admiring. You're remembering. Not watching, but reconnecting. These shapes, this symmetry, this unspoken rhythm, it's sacred geometry. Not of the intellect, but of the soul. You don't need to understand it. You just need to feel it. That strange familiarity, that calm pull, that still moment when nature calls you back. In those moments, your eyes don't just look. They calm you. You don't want to look away. Not because you're captivated, but because your spirit is finally seeing something it forgot it was longing for. You're not just looking at nature anymore. You're being seen by it. Your soul is recognizing the geometry of what it came from. 7. Stillness behind the eyes. Receiving truth. There is a kind of stillness that doesn't come from the body, but from somewhere behind the eyes. It's the kind of stillness that arrives unannounced, quietly, without drama, like a hush falling over the soul. In that moment, your eyes stop scanning, stop searching, stop reacting. It's as if time itself steps aside for something more ancient to step forward. The gaze pauses, and that pause is not emptiness. It is the threshold of something sacred. Behind the eyes, a doorway opens. Not outward, but inward. Like a soft inhale before the soul exhales truth. And then, like a whisper dropped into a still pond, the truth arrives. Not through thinking, not through logic, but through presence. A realization, a knowing, a deep sense that something just clicked into place, even if no words follow. Your body stays still, but your soul shifts. The insight doesn't come from you. It comes through you. It arrives in silence, but carries the weight of lifetimes. In that moment, your eyes are no longer watching the world. They are listening. The gaze doesn't demand. It receives. Like open palms held out in reverence. This is no longer just vision. It is communion. Your soul is no longer asking the world for answers. It is receiving the answers that were always waiting. And that stillness behind your eyes, it becomes your sacred signal that you are ready to hold truth without needing to chase it, because in the final stages of awakening, the eyes are no longer just for seeing. They are for receiving, remembering, and returning. 8. Bidirectional vision. Feeling eyes on you. There comes a strange and quiet shift where you begin to know, without a single doubt, when someone is looking at you. Not because you saw it, but because you felt it. It's like a gentle tap, not on your skin, but on the edges of your energy. As if your aura learned how to listen. As if your spiritual radar started working in both directions. Not just sending attention out, but registering when attention comes in. It could be someone behind you, across the room, or even from the other side of a screen. And still, your body knows. Your field contracts, or expands, or shifts. Sometimes, it feels like a weight brushing your back. Sometimes like a breath at your neck. Sometimes it's just a thought that wasn't yours, entering from the side, and suddenly you know you've been seen. The gaze no longer only travels outward. It loops. It echoes. It returns. Your vision has become bidirectional. You don't just see. You feel being seen. This isn't paranoia. This is presence. Recognizing presence. A quiet hello between two frequencies. And once you begin to feel this, you understand. The eye is not just an instrument of seeing. It is also a receptor, an antenna, a doorway. And what you're sensing is the proof that your vision has awakened to both directions. If these signs stirred something deep in you, if they felt less like information and more like remembrance, then you are not broken. You are not hallucinating. And you are definitely not lost. You are remembering who you were before the world told you to forget. This isn't illusion. This is evolution. You're not alone. You're ahead of the illusion, ahead of the forgetting, ahead of the fear. So, if your gaze has changed, let it change you. Don't dim it for comfort. Don't hide it for safety. Don't explain it for those who aren't ready to see that your awakened eyes are not a curse. They are a quiet calling. Let them remind others that presence, truth, and love can still be felt without a single word. If something inside you awakened while listening, something wordless, something ancient, then follow that feeling. Subscribe. Stay close. What comes next will open your eyes even more. Sit with the trees. Let your gaze guide you to the branch, the ripple, the stone your soul already knows. Trust the discomfort when your eyes say no. It's not judgment. It's energetic wisdom. Before you speak, pause. Breathe. Let your eyes rest in stillness. Let your soul respond. Instead of your habits, the eyes of a chosen one don't just see. They sense. They remember. They lead.